Hello there, and welcome back to another installment of SCP Readings with your reader here, Gmo Dawn. Today we're looking at SCP-060. There's a link down in the description for you to follow along as I read out loud. SCP-060 is a grove of 17 white oak trees, Quercus alba. The grove is spread across approximately 8 acres in rural northeastern Minnesota. A house on the property was demolished during the construction of Satellite Site 66-060 after being combed by Foundation personnel for information regarding SCP-060. When burned, SCP-060 will produce an entity henceforth designated as SCP-060-Alpha. SCP-060-Alpha appears to be an animate adult human skeleton standing approximately 2.3 meters tall and surrounded by bright white flames. SCP-060-Alpha initially burns at a temperature of approximately 1500 degrees Celsius or 2730 degrees Fahrenheit and will attempt to cause as much damage as possible when active. Burning as little as 20 grams of SCP-060 will cause SCP-060-Alpha to appear. Only one instance of SCP-060-Alpha will appear at any time. It is theorized that 060-Alpha is a unique entity. SCP-060-Alpha is extremely dangerous, having proven to be hostile and relatively intelligent. It appears to be a single recurring entity, showing a growing familiarity with Satellite Site 66-060's layout over the course of several manifestations. When given the opportunity, it will throw itself bodily at flammable materials in an effort to cause damage, and assault personnel with a focus on grappling and strangulation. Additionally, it has proven capable of running of speeds up to 80 km per hour or 50 miles per hour in short bursts and leaping approximately 5 meters from a running start. Due to the extreme temperatures produced by 060-Alpha during the initial stages of manifestation, it is capable of causing large uncontrolled fires and widespread property damage if left unchecked. SCP-060-Alpha appears to intentionally avoid burning instances of SCP-060 when it becomes active. If SCP-060-Alpha is introduced to a high enough volume of water or other flame retardant material over a short amount of time, it will begin to weaken to the point that it will collapse into dust. Collapse will occur suddenly with little warning. SCP-060-Alpha will continue to pose a threat up until its collapse. The volume of suppressive material required to subdue SCP-060-Alpha is markedly less than it would be expected to quench a heat source of its intensity, with volumes of approximately 500 liters proving sufficient. Areas burned by SCP-060-Alpha will begin to yield sapling instances of SCP-060 over the following 4 to 6 weeks. Only one wave of sapling growth will follow any given containment breach. Said saplings are easily pulled and should be composted and supplied to SCP-060's normal containment chambers. Additional information regarding 060. The property containing SCP-060 contained a burned-out, secluded house upon Foundation acquisition. According to civilian sources, the house's previous owner was a Jonathan Corhill, who is reported to have been a somewhat solitary eccentric with a tendency toward bitterness and nihilism. Mr. Corhill was reported as a missing person in late 1996, several months after having suddenly cut off all ties to family members and friends. The last person to have had contact with Jonathan Corhill was his brother Christopher via a telephone call. According to his brother, Corhill had developed an interest in the study of Victorian-era occultism. Furthermore, he reported that Jonathan Corhill had seemed normal up until the phone call, at which point he told Christopher never to contact him again. Later in the year, a mail carrier visited his home to deliver a notice of foreclosure, finding it instead as a burned-out shell. Examination showed that the fire began in the living room in the general vicinity of the fireplace. It is now assumed that SCP-060-Alpha manifested within the house while Corhill burned SCP-060 in the fireplace. Considering SCP-060-Alpha's nature, why the house was not entirely destroyed during this alleged manifestation is as of yet unknown. No human remains were found within the structure. Jonathan Corhill's whereabouts and whether he is dead or alive are currently unknown. So judging by that additional information, I have one of two theories here as to what 060-Alpha is. Either one, it could be Jonathan Corhill himself and something went wrong with some of the occultism that he was getting into at the time, and something made him turn into this flaming skeleton. Or perhaps Jonathan Corhill summoned this skeleton and it just got out of control, and perhaps he didn't want to deal with the repercussions of this now flaming skeleton running around. So he ran off and made himself scarce and made sure that he would never be found again. And that seems a little more likely, as it said several months before he was reported as missing in 1996, he cut off all ties with family and friends. So I think that second theory is a little more likely, but there's something about it that makes me feel like that this is Jonathan Corhill. Interesting SCP that makes you wonder why. Why does it do what it does, and why is it here? That has been SCP-060. Thank you for joining me on this reading. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.